Hey everyone, Noam Gad Weiser is on the show today. Noam is a friend of Maggie's, my producer, and she is a film, television, and podcast creator. She has also written screenplays and is currently working on a novel. Something to do with pickles. I can't remember the exact name she told me, but we all are going to pay close attention because she's going to be great. Originally from Israel, she has lived in Paris and most currently LA. Noam told me some very funny stories about the research she does for her writing, going to places, seeing some really crazy and funny things. And she also told me some very funny stories about one of her favorite places, Jumbo's. So stay tuned. It's on right now. Shit happens. Bad shit, good shit, crazy shit. And it usually happens when we least expect it. So tune into the Shit That Happens to Me podcast and hear me and everyone I meet tell their shitty stories. You'll laugh. You'll cry. You probably won't cry. Why would you cry? These are mostly funny stories. You'll learn a few lessons. Probably not. It's definitely not that kind of podcast. But you will have a great time. Honestly, you can't make this shit up. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Shit That Happens to Me podcast. I am so excited to be here today with my guest, Noam Gad Weiser. Hi, Noam.
Hi, Stacey. Thank you for pronouncing my name properly. I really appreciate it.
I was hoping that I did pronounce it properly, but I got a little hint also from Maggie before we started. So welcome to the Shit That Happens to Me podcast. Usually I start off the episode with, do you know how I know you? But since I've just met you, it might be unclear because since we don't really know each other, but you are friends with Maggie.
Yes, I am.
So Maggie's my producer. Can you tell me like how you came to be friends with Maggie?
Oh yeah, it's a fun story. We talk about it in the podcast that we hosted together, Maggie and I, Conversations with Friends and Strangers. I love to say that I met Maggie on Bumble because I dated her now husband's best friend briefly back in 2018. And Maggie and I fell in love and couldn't let go. And now here we are, almost 5 years later.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you did a podcast on with Straw Hut, that Conversations with Friends and Strangers. That was based on a Hulu special, or Hulu show.
Yeah, it was a companion podcast that wasn't really a companion podcast, but it was definitely themed after Sally Rooney's novel, Conversations with Friends.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. And then the show that wasn't that much a success was, it was still a lot of fun. We learned a lot of things about ourselves, about relationships, about each other.
That's fun. What's wrong with that?
Mm-hmm. Oh, nothing wrong with that. It was great. Honestly, It was lovely.
And is that something, have you done other podcasts?
Not yet. We are working on another fiction podcast that is based on one of my pilots that is set in Paris but is in English about stolen art. So that's in development, but early stages.
Fun.
That I would definitely not be hosting. I'm only writing it.
Oh, okay. So they need a host for that. Okay.
I think it's going to be an ensemble. It's going to be like a fictional podcast, actors and things. Yeah.
Oh, that's really fun. I've listened to a few fiction podcasts, so they're like audiobooks. So.
Oh, yeah. I love it.
So your main job, though, is you are a writer, and you also, I'm looking on IMDb, and it says that you are like a production assistant and a translator for some movies.
Yeah, I have some things there. I definitely need to update that. Thank you for reminding me. I'll put it on my list because there's some projects there that I haven't done yet. Yeah, some of the projects, the earlier projects I was on that are mostly co-productions are French-American or Israeli-French-American or just French-Israeli, and that I helped with a development company that I wasn't a writer on, but I was more of a creative producer on, or an assistant. One of them started that I was the personal assistant to the writer-director and ended up being really way too much. That is actually the movie that moved me to the US. It's a whole other story. So it was kind of like a happy accident that wasn't an accident, with getting more and more involved in the project. But I'll tell you, none of these movies are good. None of them. They're not very good, but they're entertaining.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
No, but they're... You got to work on them, so that's exciting.
Oh, very exciting. And I learned a lot, and it's great. But that's why I'm like, I should put more recent things on there too.
Yeah.
I've been more involved in, which are great, and more new and exciting things. But I mainly write scripts at this moment in time, mainly television. A lot of it, as television works, is just scripts that are not going to be produced, or maybe mainly at this moment in time are not produced. But it's, again, I'm learning. I'm a baby writer. You know, I'm just starting out when it comes to screenwriting, and then I have my own projects.
Fun. So, I that sounds like a lot of fun to me. Like, even if you make movies that aren't very good, like, that's exciting, because I'm a kind of fame wannabe person. So I really enjoy talking to people who are kind of in the business, whether it's writing or doing the sound or, you know, doing the producing or the directing. I just am fascinated with all of that. So, yeah, it sounds great to me. So, because there's none of that going on here in Milwaukee.
I wouldn't know. I've never been to Milwaukee. But I definitely want to go. I hear it gets cold there. Is that true?
Oh,
sometimes?
Yeah. It was like 9 degrees today. Yeah. So.
Okay. That's right.
I mean, I have a wonderful life here in Milwaukee, but I'm not sure that there's any reason for you to come to Milwaukee, really. We have lovely summers.
Well, I love places that don't make any sense to go visit. It's one of my passions, and it's what I'm going to talk about today, too, is I find a lot of inspiration in those places. It's just like a life that is, you know, not very adventurous, or maybe adventurous in ways that I don't know. So it's a different kind of culture, and then seeing it as an outsider, and just like really small corners, and just how people go about their day, I find fascinating. Like you find production fascinating, and you know, fame, and I think supermarkets in foreign countries are the most interesting things ever. But I understand that's a strange thing. That's not everybody.
No. I mean, should you come to Milwaukee, I hope you'll call me, because I'll show you around everywhere. Try to do it in the summertime when it's really nice here. But so you have some funny stories today about, I guess, like some of the shit that's happened to you while you've done research for your scripts. So let's hear about it.
Yeah. So, like, for example, when I go to Milwaukee, it's going to be probably, I don't know if it's the same thing, but when I first moved out here to California, so I moved to Los Angeles in 2017, very fast. It's kind of like a job offer. I moved from Paris, which is very different than Santa Monica. I'll tell you that. It was kind of like a really strange culture shock. I'm originally from Israel, so Israel to Paris, it's very different, but I was ready. And then I thought I knew LA because I have family here and I visited, you know, growing up. And I came after 10 or 11 years of not being in the US at all. I was like, whoa, what is going on? And I stayed Christmas here. I didn't get Jewish because I'm Israeli, so I didn't go on vacation. Everyone went out of town. I was here for a few months. And one of my uncles said, okay, who's ever left in town, let's all go to Catalina Island. And I went and I was like, what is this strange place? It doesn't make any sense. I don't know if you've ever been to Catalina Island. It's an island.
I haven't.
Off the coast of Los Angeles, a little bit in front of Long Beach, kind of. It's about an hour boat ride. And it's beautiful, and it's very sweet, and it's very strange, kind of like old golden age. Stars used to go there. Natalie Wood died off the coast of Catalina and Avalon. So that happened there. And I found all these things out when I'm there, and I'm like, how come there's no there's no murder mystery based out here over this. Like, this is such a strange, the atmosphere there is so weird, and it's creepy and foggy, but also very beautiful and has eccentric characters. And I fell in love with the place. I'm like, I have to kill some people here, like not physically, but character wise, because I write murder mysteries mostly. I should have said that. Sorry. And I decided to come back to start writing a project. And I went there, I spent a whole weekend. It's great. I make friends. I go on boats. I explore the island. I have a pet cemetery. It's a very strange place. And I write a pilot, and I work on it for like six or 8 months. I sit and I write and I develop all the characters in my world. And I was like, well, I need to go and count steps from the bar to the beach, and then from the beach to the casino there. They have the casino, and I have to like do really just a few things to finalize. I think it was my second rewrite at that point. And I decide to go, it's a Sunday, and I have work. I was working, had like my day job was something it was a marketing job at a real estate company. It was before COVID. This was a while ago. And I go Sunday morning, and it's like, I just need to, not staying the night, not anything. I drive, I get the boat, I go, and on the way there, and it's kind of like a huge catamaran. And I'm sitting outside on the deck, and it's beautiful. And the waves, sometimes you see whales when you take the boat, if it's the right season. And there are big waves that day, and the boat starts rocking up and down slowly. And just, and I have like headphones on, and I'm listening to music, and then I start seeing movement, and it's like a person next to me starts throwing up, and then a person brushes over, gives them a bag, they take them to the place where the people that throw up, and I'm like, okay, great. I'm looking at the water, taking slow-mo videos of the water, trying to writing material, going over my notes, and then I see another person start throwing up, and the boat's going up and down and up, and I'm like, slowly, the smell is spectacular. It's just everyone on the boat, one by one, just starts vomiting, including the people giving out the bags. Like, everyone is just throwing up. It's a symphony of vomit, and people in different, just like turning from green to yellow. It was hilarious. And I was fine, honestly. Like, by the end of it, when you see kind of like the juices rolling on the ground with the boat, you're like, okay, this is a little but I was fine. I was just like disgusted, but not nauseous in any way. And it was just like, I was just looking at them, but there was literally, maybe one little boy that didn't throw up except me. That was there. Wow. And I think that is it. I'm like, okay, I'm definitely putting this in the pilot, which I did. But I get to the island. I do all the things. I go to the bar, the restaurant. I count all the steps, and then there's an announcement that all the boats are canceled because of high winds, because it was too rocky. The water is just too rough to be able to sail back. And so now I'm stuck on this island. It's Sunday night. The first boats go up at 6 a.m, even with the boat and traffic. There's no way I'm going to make it to work on time Monday. So I have a weird text with my boss. They're like, I'm stuck on an island. I'm sorry. I won't be able to make it tomorrow in time. Maybe I'll take, but I see it as a good opportunity. I the only motel that had a room was a very sticky motel, but I really enjoy. I really like the weirdest motels. They do have a lot of character. I definitely, I used a towel as a pillowcase, and I had to buy pajamas. I had nothing. It was like, wait, I need underwear. Right. I need socks. I got the only underwear I found on the island were like taco dinosaur underwear that I still have just because they were hilarious. And I see it as an opportunity to explore it. I go to the spa that I went to when I first went there to research, and there's a girl on the bar. That is getting hit on by these two aging cowboys that I don't know what they're doing there, and she's like looking at me, like rolling her eyes. I'm like, okay, I'm going to come to her aid, and we chat. We take pictures with those guys, cowboy hats. The guys leave, and she starts talking to me, and turns out that her brother used to be the bartender of that bar. And I remember him, and he had just passed. And I'm like, oh, but I remember him, and his girlfriend was there, and they were fine. She was like, yeah, and they broke up, and then he dated this girl, and then he had a kid, and then he died from this illness. And we start drinking, and she's like, okay. And I told her that I'm writing about Avalon. She's like, okay, I have to take you. There's a nightclub. Do you know about the nightclub? Like, what do you mean? There are only 3 people in this town. What nightclub? She said, there's a secret nightclub. And she takes me to that secret nightclub, which is on top of a supermarket. And it is a nightclub. There were only about 3 people there. She's like, well, it gets busier later. And it's like 1 a.m. at this point. I'm like, I don't know what is later.
Yeah, right. How much later?
Yeah. So so their friends show up. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go. I find myself my way back to my room, and there's a symphony. And this is, again, a different symphony, a little disgusting, but you just hear everyone around you having sex. Because the only reason people go to this island is like on, a couple trips. And I don't think it's honeymoons, but I honestly, I don't know. It's not a very romantic motel, but the walls are moaning. So I am really drunk at this point. I did not think I was going to stay in this island. I'm just laying in bed, just looking at the ceiling. Everything is, now I'm nauseous. Everything is floating. And all I hear is everyone just moaning and having sex around me. But it just like sounds like there's a whole pack of people, but coming from all the directions. So, it's like different rooms, different hotels. It's just it's very close together. That was great. Yeah. And then the next day was really rough. Yeah. I definitely, I woke up, threw up, not on the boat. Before going on the boat, I was like, I can't, I'm too hungover. I only had 3 hours of sleep. And then on the boat back, the water was definitely not stormy. Everything was fine, but I was not doing too well. Oh. That was a great trip. A lot of it did make it into the rewrite, which was good. Did
you murder people on the island?
No, apparently they die on their own. That's not funny. I'm sorry. I did not mean no. I'm not going to say who the murderer is.
Okay.
Because I maybe don't know. No, it's a pilot. So there are a lot of options. Yeah. Okay. I did get a lot of material. It's a fun one. I really do recommend visiting Catalina Island.
Catalina
with the vomiting.
Okay.
Yeah. It's Avalon on Catalina Island. That bar is also great. I think there are 2 bars on the island. That's the one that has a pool table.
Okay. Did you play pool?
I did. Yes. I did play pool.
Okay.
I'm not particularly good at it, but I do enjoy it very much. It's an activity. I have to say Maggie does too, and it's something that we also do together. She accompanied me doing some strange adventures. I'm like, I want to go to this place. Do you want to join me? She's like, sure. Yeah.
So you said the second thing that is also the thing I'm super interested in after I write and movies and all that stuff was, you said murder mystery. So I love murder mysteries. I listen to murder mysteries. I watch murder mysteries. If someone says to me, have you seen this show? And I say, well, is someone murdered in it? And if they say no, I'm like, well, then I probably haven't seen it yet. I probably won't be seeing it unless, someone is violently, murdered and chopped up and, things like that. So
which crime show is your favorite show at the moment?
Well, I don't know which is my favorite, but I just finished Snow Girl. I don't know if you saw that, which takes place in Spain. So that was a new Netflix thing. And
is it about cocaine?
No. And there's really not even any snow. But I don't know. So I don't know. Actually, I never figured out why it was called Snow Girl. But this girl is kidnapped. So it's about that. And I like, murder and horror, like American Horror Story and things like that. I just saw that there's Follow the House of Usher is coming. Mike Flanagan is going to do that. And I love all of his shows, like Haunting of Hill House, like my all-time favorite show. I don't know if you saw that.
I couldn't make it through that one. So I don't really watch television as a TV writer, which is a lot of people think it's strange, but I find it kind of obscures my creativity at times. But I do read a lot of scripts. And I was stuck in a project, and I needed to come up with different act breaks. And at this point, this was in the south of France, so I was in a really beautiful place. And I had a really rough night trying to think of the strangest act breaks to up the stakes on this novel. That's I'm working with a showrunner, and it's her project that I write on. And she came back and was like, "We have these notes. We need help. You have until tomorrow to do this." I'm like, challenge accepted. And I couldn't, it didn't matter how many ideas I've had. It wasn't good enough. It's like, okay, I need to change ideas. And my partner was like, you should watch Hunting of Hill House because it's very good. and say, okay, don't think I can watch it because it sounds too scary. I'll listen to it. So I'm like, by listen to it means I download the PDF and I put it on a PDF reader, and I'm doing other things at the same time. We have to, again, move from one Airbnb to the other. I'm doing the dishes, I'm packing. And at this point, I'm getting into the shower. This is the end of the teaser. So the first mention of the bent neck lady, right?
Yeah.
And at this point, I reach to my phone, I turn it off, and for 2 months, I couldn't sleep without the lights on after that.
No.
I know. And I'm 32 and a half, and I just couldn't do it. Too scary.
I want to say that, the bent neck lady was one of the most beautiful and heartbreaking stories within the show. We had my co-host Lindsay Jones and I of Psychoanalyzing the Patient had the really wonderful opportunity to interview the production designer for The Haunting of Hill House, and I was just fangirling, like, oh my God, that I love that show so much. And he sent us like their deck for I don't know. It was amazing. So I love the whole bent neck lady thing. And even though I'd probably read that story a million years ago, I didn't remember it and was in awe. But yeah.
I think they did a really good job with the adaptation of it. And I think that is something also that is most projects that I work on, is that to make sure that all of the horrors that come from within when it comes to psychology are realistic. And because in a lot of Netflix shows, you have, everyone is a psychopath, and no one really knows what that means. And then also, they're not really psychopaths. And my best friend back in Israel is a psychotherapist. So every time I write a character, after I write my characters, I'm like, so this is what I gave them. So I have a murderer. This is why. What do you think of their childhood? What do you think of their motives? What do you think of this? And she helps me just make sure that I'm not, because people see this and they self-diagnose, and also they compare it to their own life. And I think it's important because that's our way to grow and learn from these things. And I know that is fascinating. And you learn a lot about psychology when you do it. And a lot of network notes now come back also as in like, this needs to be more realistic. It needs to be more, even if it's young adults, it needs to make sense. It's not just drama for drama, which I really appreciate. So I'm hoping that more projects like Haunting of Hill House will find their way into screens.
Yeah, for sure. So, I'm a psychologist, so that's why that whole thing really fascinates me, and thus the name of our show, Psychoanalyzing the Patient. But so we hope to do more psychoanalyzing other shows. So I think you have another story here. Something about a strip club?
I have a bunch. Yeah.
Yeah.
That one is
let's hear it.
See, today I'm not drinking, but these are stories about drunken nights, but I have to say I only have like a handful of those a year, and less with time.
Okay.
But I had
as you get older, huh?
As I get older. Maybe as I get older, I have more unexpected drunken nights. So you're like, a couple of drinks, and then whoop. So there's a pilot that I'm still working on that I'm also gonna shoot as a short film, and actually it's a trilogy that I'm excited about. And it takes place in a strip club, but it's also a strip club that's a burlesque, but in the future. So it's future vintage. So basically the vintage of like, it's like hidden under a diner, and then the diner is like vintage. So circa 2003. So that was fun. But research wise, and what inspired me to do it is, I live, even before I did, close to Jumbo's Clown Room on Hollywood, which is a burlesque club that's basically a strip club. But they're not completely naked, right? And they're very talented dancers. So it's a small spot. It's a famous spot. Courtney Love used to dance there. And you see a lot of, I really suck at recognizing celebrities. It was a problem in my work at some point because I had no idea who I was talking to. Or maybe a solution sometimes as well. Yeah. Especially in Hollywood. I get scolded for it though. That and not watching television. So I I think a friend of mine visiting took me to Jumbo's for the first time, and I fell in love with it because it's one of the places in Los Angeles that I've found have true character and personality and charm. And I know it's a strip joint and it's strange, but like the light is like everything's red and the people, everything's small and crowded. It feels like Europe, and there's a jukebox, and that's how like the girls go choose their song, and it's only classic rock, and then they do their set, and it's usually themed, a couple of hours, a few girls, and then they change it up, and it closes at 2. It's a minimum of 2 drinks, and then you go home, and it's like it became a place that I really enjoyed and really inspired me for Pickles is that the pilot is called right now, which is a working title for sure. And I started taking every person that came to visit me. I didn't tell them. I was like, we're going to go to a bar. And I just took them to Jumbo's, which is then gave them cash. And we would so I did that with my sister, who freaked out and then enjoyed it way too much. And my cousin, who's like, I don't like strip joints. And then was like, but this one I kind of do. That was... And Maggie and I went there a few times. She doesn't like it, but every time it's my anniversary in LA or something, and I make her, or we're drunk enough, we go to Jumbo's. My first date with my partner was there accidentally as well. And then I also did, anniversaries and New Year's now, bar mitzvahs, weddings. I'm kidding.
Bar mitzvahs.
And I had a French friend visit. Well, he was coming for Burning Man, and this friend is also is my ex, but we were friends at this point, and like this is years after we dated, and he's in a relationship for ages now. He's been in a relationship. Well, he cheated on me with this woman who's now his wife. This was ages ago. I was like 10 years ago. And that other one was less than 10 years. This was pre-pandemic.
Ooh.
And he comes and he really needs help, all the help he can get. He can't rent the trailer. He can't do this. And I'm going to Long Beach, and I'm helping it. I'm like, dude, like, what the fuck? Like, please, just like, can't. And he's like the CEO of this company that he built, and then he sold it. He's like now this big shot, and more than he was when you were like 23. But he still can't do anything on his own. And he has one night where he was like, okay, let me take you out for a drink because I owe you so much for this. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm like, okay. And I take him to Jumbo's because that is where I go when I bring people out of town. And we drink way too much. And we sit at this table, and then there's two other people, a couple that sits with us and starts getting us drinks, and then Jumbo's was closing, and then we found ourselves in a different strip club. And this one is not like a kiddie strip club, kind of like Jumbo's, that it's all cute and charming. It's a strip club. Like the light is just fluorescent, white light. It's big. They're walking naked back and forth on like a runway situation, jiggling things I didn't know can be jiggled, but for like different. And I like, do I want to look? This is too much. And then they're like, not supposed to sell alcohol because it's already 3 a.m, but they're still selling alcohol, but it's in the back room. And I don't know where I am. I mean, everything's fine. We were safe, but it's also like, I still don't know where this place was. I think I thought it was one strip club, because what happened is like, I obviously could not drive after this. So I take an Uber home. We take an Uber home because we definitely slept together after that night. Because of course we were so drunk, and he didn't sleep before going to Burning Man. And then like that was, mistakes I don't do anymore. But definitely memorable evening. And I lost my car keys. I came like, again, same job. I have to get up in the morning, go to work. No car keys. I had a spare, but like these are car keys with my house keys and all of my favorite, but my favorite gifts that I had. My keychains. I had one from Hong Kong. I had one from Japan. Like my sister, I had all these things on it. It was beautiful. It was curated, and it's very. Also, those keys are fucking expensive. It's like $400 to. I went to Jumbo's. They couldn't find it, and they're like, "Well, this is the other strip club that's in the other side of the street." I'm like, "It must be that club." And I go there, and I don't recognize it. I'm like, "This is not the place I went." Where was I? How did we get here? Because the people that were with us at the table was like, "Oh, I own this other club. Let's go there." And they drove us. I went into a stranger's car. What was I thinking? Yeah, we were in a car with us. Like there were a couple. I was very drunk. The next day, I was I never found those keys. I could never retrieve them.
You didn't?
Oh. Nope. Mm-mm. No, and no keys.
I'm sorry to hear that.
But I did get a I think I did get a very good experience. It's definitely in pickles.
And thus, this is why you listen to Imogen Church's episode, because it was called Burlesque.
Yep, exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, that's one of the reasons.
Yeah. So because I asked you some questions before you started, and one of them, have you listened to any episodes? And so you mentioned that, and I don't know if you know that she did 2 episodes, because Imogen wrote a novel. So she is a narrator, really an amazing narrator. Voice. I love her voice. I don't know if you heard me say I have a voice crush on her, and and then she wrote her own novel set in a burlesque place. So I can't remember what the name of the novel is at the moment, but I think it's the name of her other episode. So I highly recommend the novel. And she, of course, narrates her own novel. So
I think she mentioned it on her. Yeah.
That she was working on it.
I'll listen.
Yeah.
That's what she was working on. I wonder if we went to the same places.
I wonder. Because she did do burlesque in L.A. So, she's from England, but I know she was in L.A. for a little while.
Probably knows Jumbos.
Burlesque, maybe. Well, so it sounds to me like the lesson here is to what? Like, hold on to your keys. Keep pajamas with you at all times.
Toothbrush. Sure.
Any other lessons from these stories here? The U.S. is bad.
Douglas Adams always is bring a towel. This didn't only happen in the U.S. It's like I think I have a track record when I'm like, oh, I'll just do this small thing, and then something just it just kind of like goes into something a little bigger. None of these were bad experiences. They were all worth it and definitely memorable.
Okay.
So you lose something, you gain something.
Okay. Yeah.
And maybe hydrate, wear sunscreen.
Hydrate, yeah. None of the lessons are drink less. I want to be really clear about that. Like none. Mm-hmm. We haven't said that as one of the lessons.
More water.
Like, more drink more water. If you're going to drink a lot, hold on to your keys.
I got a lot of material from it. It was definitely worth it. So there's a lot there. Maybe a little too much. Maybe I over research. That's the fun part.
I mean, it's better than under researching and not knowing. And
it's better than murdering people for murder mysteries.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. So you said the working title is For Pickles, so we can kind of keep our eyes open for this.
Pickles in the realm, Pickles in the realms of the unknown. It's a long working title.
And is pickles a person or literally what you eat? Pickles.
It's pickles what we eat. Yeah, it's actual pickles.
Okay.
It's actual pickles. Okay. That one's going to take a little while. This was going to take Avalon is the working title for Avalon. It takes place there.
Oh, so
and I do think I'm going to
have
to. There's more than one. There are a bunch of them. Yeah, these are 2 different projects that I researched. There is burlesque also in Avalon a little bit, but it's decorative. It's not the base of the plot the same way that Pickles is. Yeah, 2 different worlds, different time.
You definitely have to come to Milwaukee now, because every summer my husband puts up pickles. We make dill pickles. And
I'm obsessed with pickles.
That's definitely going to be like necessary research for your book, because we make pickles here. And my husband, there's a podcast episode called Steve Nye the Pickle Guy, all about the process of making pickles.
I saw that, and I was like, I can't. I'm going to get too excited. I can't listen to this podcast about pickles right now. But it's a lot of what I eat.
Invitation.
I pick a little bit myself, but thank you. I will definitely come and check out the brine. I like to make dirty martinis out of pickle brine too. Oh, I love garlic.
Yeah, I'm telling you, you need to come and have some Steve Nye pickles.
Oh, Stacey, say no more. I'm on my way. Milwaukee and pickles, here I come.
Okay. All right. Great. Well, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to talk to you. I really enjoyed hearing about your
Thank you
stories,
for having
and
me.
I look forward to these projects. I wish you all the best so that I can
Thank you so much.
read your books and watch the show.
Thank you so much, Stacey. Thank you for everything.
Yeah.
It's great being here. It's been fun.
So that was Noam Gad Weiser in a Symphony of Vomit is definitely what I'm going to be calling this episode, telling us her stories about while she did research for her scripts, books, podcasts, TV shows, some of the shit that happened to her during that time. Although I'm not sure the second story could be considered research for her scripts. But what do you think, Maggie?
I think we come up with all kinds of excuses of why we need to get into trouble, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
you know
for
what?
sure.
The Vomit Symphony was making me think of, was it Stand By Me, the movie where the boys are all sitting around and he tells the story of the vomitorium? I don't think I would survive in that situation. I think that I would probably jump off the boat and swim to shore. That's where I'd be at.
I mean, I just started thinking about the fact that I'm taking a cruise in July and a little worried about my tendency to get, any kind of sick, motion sick, seasick, air sick.
You get motion sickness?
Yeah. If there's a kind of sick, I'll get it. So if I'm moving, I will get it. So yeah. So I immediately went there, but I think I'll be okay. I've got all my drugs that I'm going to take.
Yeah. And also cruise ships are pretty big. So I feel like it's the small boats that really toss you around, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So have we learned any lessons here that, each story was like, well, I drank a little too much, but no, that was a keeper. So I'm cool with that.
That's not the lesson.
That was not the lesson. No, just drink more water.
Yeah.
So don't get dehydrated.
Yeah.
So you weren't there in any of those stories. That you weren't part of those stories.
No, I was not there for any of the stories told. Though I have been to Jumbo's clown room with her before, and I think, as she said, not my favorite place.
No. I feel like, and I would have to, because I don't know anything. Let me preface what I'm going to say as if I know something. I really don't know anything. But I kind of think maybe Imogen talked about this, that burlesque, I think, is kind of different than stripping in general, because I think we kind of associate stripping with something women feel forced to do or aren't in good situations, or it's, I don't know, it's very sexist, all of that stuff, exploitative, right? But I don't think that Imogen felt that burlesque was exploitative at all. I think she really enjoyed it. It was like art. She, came out in this costume and told a story. And so for her, she was just performing. But I don't know if that's true for all burlesque or not, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely true at Jumbo's. Jumbo's is definitely, it's not one of those places that, it's not a sad place other strip clubs are. Like there's a place not far from Jumbo's called Cheetahs that a friend of mine threw a party at years ago that I went to, and I was like, I don't want to be here. This is sad. I don't like this at all. Very different vibe. Still not my vibe, but a very different vibe. It is definitely more cabaret than strip club, but you are still kind of throwing $1 bills. There is still a pole and a lot of pole dancing, and there is still, the underwear. It's more like bikinis, I'd say, than like, there's a certain assumption with burlesque that there's something old-fashioned about it. Maybe that's my own narrow mind about it.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
And cabaret sounds more old-fashioned. I don't know why it's called Jumbo's. I'm not crazy about that name. I don't know what we're supposed to get from that name.
Jumbo's Clown Room is what it's called.
Yeah. That's not.
Yeah, there's a picture of a clown on the front of it. It's, that's maybe another thing. I don't like clowns, really. So maybe that's just.
I don't mind clowns, but I will tell you that I've been to a male strip club.
Have
I'll
you?
just take a moment. I have. So you're like, really? I wasn't supposed to be there. I never did anything wrong growing up, like hardly ever. I never lied. I didn't do anything wrong, at least not until I got to college. But just some people had like a, longer head start than I did. But my grandparents had this condo in Miami Beach. And I went there often in the winter. And at that point, I think it was just my grandmother and a friend came with me, my friend Liz. And then some other friends were also in the area. And we were all going to go out one night and we went to a male strip club. And of course, I didn't tell my grandmother this, although I was an adult, but, I didn't really feel like an adult. And it was quite... I don't know. It was a lot of fun. It was really a lot of fun. I did put money in like some very hot guy who I think was called like Israeli Ike or something like that into his jock strap. I mean, it wasn't quite Israeli Ike, but it was pretty close to that.
Yeah, something like
into
that.
His like jock strap, which was closer than I'd ever gotten before. So, and then, it was like the secret. I couldn't tell my grandmother like where we were that night. So that made it, pretty exciting for me. But
so whose idea was it to go to the strip club?
it might have been my idea. It might have been my idea. I don't remember. It was me and Liz and Karen, who is now my sister's sister-in-law, and my friend Lisa. We all went to this strip club. Yeah. It was fun. We
So
drank.
it was just the one time you never went back?
No, that would have been beyond. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So have you done that?
I've never been to a male strip club, no. I mean, I started watching the Chippendales series with Kumail Nanjiani. I think that was on Hulu or something, but I don't think I actually finished it. But that's, I've never been. It's never come up, I've never had a Stacey in the group to recommend it.
Right. The Stacey, who's this good little girl who suddenly has these ideas like, let's go to a male strip joint.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, shout out to Liz and Karen and Lisa, in case you're listening. Let's go back, see Israeli Ike, who's probably an old man now.
I think it's time. to go check on him.
Yeah. All right, Maggie. Well, thanks so much. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed meeting your friend Noam.
Thanks, Stacey. Yeah, I think it was fun. I think it was a good time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, take care. Have a good weekend, and don't be a crumb. Thanks for listening to my shit. I really appreciate it. Come back and hear more shit next time on the Shit That Happens to Me podcast. Do you think I've said shit enough for one podcast episode? Tune in next time to the Shit That Happens to Me podcast.